World. Oh.
Hello, and welcome to So Much Game for what has turned out to be the inaugural episode, because I was violently ill last week. Or the week before, I can't remember. I was ill recently. Anyway, tonight we're going to be doing some casual world building with the Worlds Without Number book by Kevin Crawford. And joining me is Sofinho of the internet, who you may know from the Alone in the Labyrinth blogspot, Alone in the Labyrinth Discord, and possibly also the Prior RPG, although I can let him explain more about that.
Yeah, I am he.
That's it.
That's it. No.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, we're here to do some Worlds Without Number world building today, I believe. Is that correct? That's what the logo says above your head.
Yep, that is indeed what the logo says. So there you go. We're starting completely from scratch with no real concept built beforehand. Mm-hmm. Each of us has decided to throw up 3 tropes or generalizations of a world, and then we're going to build it from there using all of the charts and ideas available in the Worlds Without Number book. Yeah. And we may just come up with some stuff as well, because that's world building. Before we get started, if you're watching this on Twitch, please follow the channel. And if you're watching it on YouTube later, please subscribe on YouTube, and also come over to Twitch and follow the channel, and do the opposite if you're on Twitch.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah. Okay, right. I think we'll get started then.
Get started. So, as a bit of preamble, you mentioned that we're coming in fairly blind, and to manage kind of the big idea behind the world, we thought it'd be a good idea to either pick 3 keywords or 3 tropes from the TV Tropes website, or a combination thereof, and use those to create the overarching concept. So I think this is probably going to be the most the weirdest part of the world building that we do, because after this it's very structured, and we can just hang stuff on the trope. But now I thought it'd be fun if we took it in turns rather than doing all 3 at once, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. And so I don't know who wants to go first though.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, really?
You're the guest, so I feel like I have to let you go first. Otherwise I'd just be throwing up words.
Can you still see me okay? My computer is just...
No, we can see and hear you still.
Great, okay. No, sorry, my screen just... Okay, so the first thing I'm going to share is it's a trope, and that trope is planetary romance, aka sword and planet.
Sword and planet, very nice. I feel like mine are going to be deeply disappointing because I went very broad. Also, this is pretty much the only part that isn't really entirely described in the book or structured. You sort of have to come into it with an idea, and then from there on you can build down in insane detail. But you shouldn't, as the book points out.
Yeah, you shouldn't, but it does point out that you do need to have an idea to start with.
My first one is non-dystopian, but it's also reversed because my webcam's reversed, so this is going to go well.
Okay. I could see that the right way around.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, so non-dystopian.
Yeah. I thought I'd go very broad, but then also make it not dystopian, because I don't know, I think there's an overly large influx of dystopian worlds nowadays, and everything's horrible. And I thought it'd be fun to throw something out there that was wildly adventurous, but also not mired in mud and blood.
Okay. Good. Okay. So far we have planetary romance / Sword and Planet and non-dystopian. Yeah, both very broad right now. We're going to have to nail it down a little bit more. My next one is so that's BFS, which stands for Big Fucking Swords.
Well, now you're really playing into my favourite themes. There you go.
Well, this is where I thought there's a possibility of some crossover. So,
well, see,
I thought it would at least appeal, even if you didn't choose it. You would at least be like, you'd be on board with that one. You know, and it's just a trope of people having giant swords. So it could be anything from dueling Highlanders to Cloud in Final Fantasy VII to, you know, just maybe people have big swords above their hearths, their mantelpieces, which they never use. It's just a feature.
Who knows? There might even be insanely massive giant swords just lying around in the landscape. Where did they come from?
Which also implies, insanely massive giants. Or very small people who can enlarge themselves. Or very small people who accidentally enlarged all their swords.
Okay. No, that was too much. It's too large now. That's not what I wanted at all.
Let's just leave it there.
I'll come in from the top then.
Oh, okay. Special effect. What lurks in the depths?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I think I've got a clue. Elaborate on this one now.
Well, I feel like you can go fairly broad with that as well. What are the depths? Is it the depths of the sea, the depths of the planet itself, the depths of the void beyond, or in the depths of the people themselves?
Oh, what lurks behind? Well, that would, that could be.
But that plays nicely with the non-dystopian. On the surface, everything's non-dystopian, but who knows?
Well, this is the thing about utopian literature, is to make it fun. You have to say, it's not utopian. So,
Well,
yeah. It could be like, do you think, like, say, if you set something in the present day, right, would it be, I mean, just a 21st century kind of piece of fiction, would that be non-dystopian? Or it wouldn't be utopian, right?
No.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be very dependent on what your book is about. Where and when and how and why would become important factors.
So what lurks in the depths of behind the sad eyes of the
two men on the internet building worlds?
Yeah. What lurks in the depths of our own misery? Yeah. Okay. Good. Oh, that means it's my last one.
Yeah.
Well. So this is super broad, and
even wider, larger swords.
It's one word. One word. It's not a trope. It's just a keyword. So we can take this in any direction. I've just given it some extra lines. Okay, so my word is... Oh, I could just do the flip, couldn't I? I could go, here was BFS, and now we go Ka-ching!
Dust.
Dust.
Wow. As you can see, we've invested heavily in props.
Yeah. Dust.
And artwork.
And artwork. Like professional designer.
Yeah, there you go.
Dust.
And yeah, what is the dust?
Yeah. Maybe
Is
everything's
everything
covered in dust.
Dusty? Is it?
Ashes
yeah.
to ashes. Or it could be a drug. Space dust. Stardust. Ziggy Stardust. Could be Ziggy. I should have put that, shouldn't I? Alvin Stardust. Yeah, slightly less exciting than Ziggy Stardust. Yeah.
See, if you'd have put Ziggy Stardust, I'd have been straight up on board. But there you go.
Yeah.
Amusingly enough, for not having actually discussed our words or the order in which we were going to do them beforehand, mine is also just one word.
Ah, nice.
So yeah, we'll come from the side this time.
Bustling.
Yep.
Bustling.
Bustling. So, are the cities bustling? Is the world itself teeming with life?
Bustling. Wicked. We now have, to read them back, we have non-dystopian planetary romance with big fucking swords. Something mysterious lurking in the depths. Those depths could be existential, physical. It's bustling, and there is dust. Okay. The last time I saw bustling was on the questionnaire for spectaculars on the Garblag Discord.
Right.
For Matt's doing the which like what, not module, what do they call it, like in
I think he's doing Streetlight Nights.
Yeah and yeah,
which
he was
like your Daredevils and Batmans and
defenders,
like
kind of like vigilantes, enhanced human rather than kind of super duper human. And there was it was a questionnaire, and I think I picked bustling for one of my keywords for the city. So yeah, I always think of bustling as being metropolitan, like it's about cities, isn't it? Is there a way it wouldn't be about cities?
Wow.
Bustling forest.
You could have centres of fauna that are bustling, like areas where large amounts of animals have to come together because the whole place is covered in dust except for these few pools of water or something. Just there you go.
Dust could be pollen.
Yeah.
And they're in a hive.
Bustling with
buzzing
dust.
Yeah.
Bustling. Oh, the bees as well.
A beehive is just an insect city, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Hive world. Then that's getting a bit dystopian, isn't it?
A really nice hive world.
A really nice
Everyone's
hive
happy.
world. Yeah, the hierarchy is really perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm only at this level, but that's where I want to be. And it is just a hive. They're making honey. It's not like industrial effluent dripping down the side.
Yeah. Well, I think, now that we have broad words, they'll probably get more defined as we run through the questions provided for backstory and
okay,
region, global.
You want to crack on?
Well, I don't have to. I mean, you can tell us more about beehive cities that are
Yeah,
non-dystopian if you want.
No. I think you're probably right. Probably a good idea to get going. I was just trying to imagine like what it can look like. Oh, I can feel like, because Oh, okay. What about? Are you familiar with the genre solar punk?
Yeah.
Like, so maybe like there's glittering cities where they're, which are in a big dusty desert hole thing, but they have these huge vertical, verdant and these great glistening spires with green, and they're growing vertical farms and stuff, and people live inside there, and they travel between these vertical farms and they have swords.
That leaves a lot of space in between for them to get into all kinds of adventures between their giant glistening sword wielding non-dystopian cities.
Maybe like that's it. Maybe like the starting point of the adventure is like you are guarding some kind of barge or something that's going between these giant cities, and then you have to navigate this slightly more hostile wilderness and slightly more dystopian wilderness, because we could have had the dystopia and this is what we've got after, and now it's life is great, but we still need to, these different units need to interact, these different hubs of civilization need to exchange goods, services, and people need to go between, and the world is hostile
in
around
between the bustling non-dystopian cities, things are less non-dystopian.
Dystopian.
Decidedly more big swords.
But also, exactly, more big swords are required. But even in the cities, like if you wanted to focus the gameplay on that bustling environment, just because it's non-dystopian doesn't mean there's not conflict and intrigue.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, because there's
no outright malice, but that doesn't mean that, like, there's no evil empire of evil is pretty much how I imagined it, because that's
so without that big okay, well that kind of segues nicely into, we look at I see what you're doing there. Into the first kind of questions then.
Well, I was actually going to ask you how you see planetary romance fitting into there now as well, though.
Well, right, but okay. So in my head, what I'm picturing now is like this kind of maybe a Martian type world, so kind of arid and reds and orange and Arizona.
Dusty.
And then the cities are like we're saying, like sort of crystalline, but also verdant and green and lush. And then traveling between them is like on, hover barges.
Yeah.
And so people are fighting if they need to. They're swinging huge swords, maybe firing lasers as well. Giant sandworms and shit like that.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's and
maybe and again, it might not be full on evil empire, but there's still conflict, and some cities might be
worse than others, or
or they just have like shit people there. They're like great. It could be like a normal city.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Would you say normal cities are dystopian then?
No, I wouldn't. I think they have.
Go.
I think it depends on who you are, maybe actually, and which city you're in.
Once again, the how, when, whys, and who's become important for the level of dystopia. But
I think,
So, shall we crack on?
Yeah.
Into the first few Questions then.
Okay.
So, Worlds Without Number pretty much builds this out as an idea for creating your campaign. And I think we also settled on it being the idea of a sprawling sandbox.
Yeah.
Because I think we both rather like sandbox games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also easier to make.
Add things to. Yeah, you start off with a few hexes and then build out from there. Yeah. And I think we've pretty much built our backdrop now with those keywords and tropes.
Well,
yeah.
I think so, but I think that's maybe come like some bits of what do you how would you bring in the elements you've suggested into what we've just discussed? So what would you layer on top of that?
Well, I'm liking the idea that you've had so far. It's feeling like a kind of pulp sci-fi world now, solar punk, but with that sort of what we're going full on sci-fi here and saying maybe the people that live there aren't originally from that planet, or
I could be down for that for sure. My caveat would be just making it not hard sci-fi, keeping it on the fantasy side.
No,
we don't have to worry about
they have big swords and hover barges and giant. I don't think there's any risk of us going too hard sci-fi with it.
Okay, good.
But
maybe
I think it's more like science fantasy pulpy kind of.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking of it when I was thinking of planetary romance. That was a pulp thing.
No, I like that idea quite a lot. Yeah.
I think it makes a nice combination with the non-dystopian solar punk thing, because that often comes at most of the solar punk I'm aware of is not in fiction, not in prose. It's more in art. Right, and that is very much like utopian. Oh, okay. Well, here's one. Before we get into the Kevin Crawford questions, magic. We've established there's a science basis, but is there magic?
I think I'd throw something akin to magic out there. If it's not pure magic, then I don't know. Yeah, probably. What do you think?
I'm always in favour of it.
Yeah, precisely.
I'm always it's fun.
I don't think I've ever, other than purely like science fiction games, I don't think I've ever created a world where there's absolutely no magic.
Who would want to live in a world like that?
There's plenty of magic around you if you just look for it.
Hollow tricks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, good. Okay. But we keep it like,
So, we're going...
I think...
broad science fantasy, solar punk, pulpy, with...
It's like, psionics can be magic.
And
of course, in Star Wars is magic.
Yeah,
and
basically.
It's like, it would be like that. We could also have full-on, like, summoning demons, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm fine. Well, they may well lurk in the depths.
Yeah. What are those depths? Because that could be an underground ocean.
Yeah,
that could be
maybe that's how they travel, rather than above the ground on through caverns and underground waterways and oceans.
It's too hot to travel above ground. You want to go under through the old tunnels of the the weird precursor civilization who were giant worms or demons or sand squids. Don't know. Okay. So what's the first question? Let me see. I didn't bring them. I've left the book.
Oh, well, I've got it up on Twitch for
yeah.
everyone else. So to the... Let's see, what way around am I? To the left of me is...
to the left of you, dear viewer.
Yeah. To the
big,
left,
the big white thing with the writing
is the Worlds Without Number PDF, and I'll have that up for the world building part. So we're going to run through the questions and build down from there. We probably won't get super deep in detail today because there's a lot to do if you want to go down to and who runs this kingdom and why and who are their 52, well, that's Tolkien levels, who are their 52 ancestors is, we won't go that far anyway.
What did their great grandmother have for breakfast before?
One of the things I like about it as well is that it also kind of points out it has to be relevant to the campaign you're running. There's going to be broad things about the entire world that everyone knows. But at the regional level, you don't need to have every single empire or kingdom or republic or tiny island worked out in detail beforehand, because that's just not where players running through it will start. And I'm also a big fan of worlds being built around player interactions rather than like, here's a world and you're running through it.
It's also good to set that, I mean, that's the main thing. It's going to be, if you're building a world that's intended to be run as a game, as a campaign, then exactly that. You want to have enough flexibility to make player contributions meaningful, because obviously you want to give them the power to pull levers and move things around, but also occasionally just to say like, oh yeah, my uncle's from that town, or I've got contact with. Instead, no, actually, I've checked through my notes.
Actually, they can't be from
couldn't
there.
be possible because your bloodline, so you don't want to do. No. Also, it's good to put restrictions on yourself whenever you do anything creative. It's really valuable to kind of say, here are some hard stops. This is where there's going to be, you don't go past this, not now, another time. Go back and look at your other stuff, and it's good. Okay.
So with that being said, we may also not do that depending on how far we start spitballing.
Episode 27, we talk about heraldry of
the flags of the
and a conlang.
But we'll start with the questions suggested.
Cool. Okay, what we got?
So for building your backdrop, what is the name of this world for people in your campaign scope?
Right. Okay.
Softopia.
Offtopia. Did you say Offtopia?
No, I said Softopia, but
Offtopia
is fine as well.
Gentutopia.
No.
So like the whole world, just
but also specifically then for the idea of players running through it, because obviously one part of the world might call it something completely different to the rest, but you're building it out from a player point of view, so what do you reckon?
It's funny, nearly all human cultures refer to the earth as kind of
that stuff under your feet.
any planet is Earth
Mm.
to
There you
the
go.
people that live there, which is also a very good rules-light sci-fi game by friend of the show, Jim Parkin, friend of the blog, friend of the labyrinth. Yeah. So we've sort of alluded to a dusty world,
Yeah.
dusty red world with
Mhm.
these kind of high tech or high, it's kind of
Yeah.
clean and
Sure.
safe and
Yeah.
pleasant places, but bustling.
Like bright and verdant, maybe high-rise kind of
Yeah.
cities that build upwards
Yeah.
in a
Um,
maybe not completely desolate, but rather dusty and
quite
difficult
challenging environment.
landscape. Yeah.
But it has sunlight, and
Yeah.
that's so what would
Maybe
people
it
call
has too much sunlight, and that's the problem.
So what do they call it? The inhabitants,
Hmm.
what do they call it?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, are we working on the idea that they moved there from somewhere else, or
Maybe in the distant past,
yeah?
they were colonists from Earth or an Earth-like planet.
Yeah.
And are they human
Who
or
knows?
human-ish? Look human.
Yeah.
Humans.
Well, are there only humans there? That's another question. Are there?
See,
Yeah.
yeah.
But maybe
If only there
from
were
the
tables
point of
around.
view, yeah. I don't think there are tables for
No, I
the
don't think
names.
there are. I think this is it. It's like if you don't come home
That's
with
the
your-
bit that's like Kevin Crawford puts that purely on your shoulders. I'll help
Yeah.
you with everything else, but you've got to come up with a name. Well, if we're thinking it's rather bright and light, I imagine they'd probably have chosen a name that runs in that vein.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Because
Like place.
one of those, they're probably a society that has 50 words for sun or sunlight or what.
Different qualities of light.
Yeah.
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 It's like it's not just especially bright today. It's particularly bright in a certain manner today. Yeah. How many suns do we have? Well, no, not between us. I mean, on this planet.
Well, let's count them. Yeah. well, because the
one.
questions come up, I feel like there has to be more than one then.
Yeah. Yeah. So that amused my wife for some reason.
I think my wife is mainly trying to ignore me and watch podcasts. So there you go.
Watch podcasts. Yeah.
Well, listen to them,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. You can watch many of them too. Yeah. So 7 suns.
That's a lot.
That's
I suppose
way
it
too
is.
many, I
It
think.
is science fantasy. We could
Yeah,
be
we're not having
insane
fun
and say
there.
5 suns or something in the sky.
19 suns orbiting
Yeah.
around the... Okay, yeah, no, that's silly. Yeah, like a binary star system kind of thing. But now I'm already starting to think about, what are the weather effects of a binary star? What are the climatological effects of a binary star system?
Well, we'll get into that when we get to geography. At this point, we just need to
Let's just have one
ruin
sun.
their day with one that's close by. Then,
Yeah, or it's like a massive blue
Is it a sun?
Is it a sun? It doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be.
we're building that out from a very we
Just
have
the
a
whole-
sun.
The whole sky could just be luminous, right?
Yeah.
It could just be this radiating solar energy or ultraviolet energy could just be filtering through a dense haze down to the surface of this planet from an unseen or unknowable source from beyond. We don't know about.
There you go.
So there's no actual sun. Is it ever night then? Do they have no sun? Do they have a night?
I imagine their cities are shielded in some way, so they can turn
put
it from
themselves
night to
asleep.
day. Yeah.
Put a curtain up. They're like, okay, good night, citizens.
So we know that they're a species of parrot people. You put a blanket over them, they go to sleep.
It's very bustling until like they drop a drape over the top of them, and suddenly it's like, oh.
Know any fun words for ultraviolet light then?
Fun words
that we could
ultraviolet
use. Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? Ultraviolet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and now I feel like we're stepping into like ultraviolet grasslands territory as well, like
Wow.
heading on toes there, which is also a science fantasy setting.
Mm-hmm.
With
You're
purple
really,
being
yeah. Really getting the the friends of the shows is.
yeah, that's fine. We haven't mentioned.
That's fine.
Yeah, that
We haven't mentioned.
We haven't mentioned we were inspired to do this stream because of Garblag's Pods
Yeah,
Without Numbers.
precisely. And I am very certain that they're also up to something tonight. So after you watch this, feel free to go over there and watch them.
Yeah, me, you, and our one bot can do a raid.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't looked. As long as no one puts anything in chat, then you know they'll just have to listen to us.
Now realising the value of chat though, because when you start saying stuff like, "What's another word for ultraviolet?" People just Google that and tell you, or they just already know.
Oh, I don't know. We could. What can we call it? This is obviously like really falling at the first hurdle,
Yeah.
but I don't know. We could call it something like Spectrum, but that reminds me of Captain Scarlet. But
It does, really does. Let's have that as kind of a placeholder, because it's good to put. We can always go back. I did this on a run through when I had a concept that I wanted to quickly play out just to test the the processes and stuff. And then I realised that actually I had no idea what I was going to call any of the nations, so I just gave them little stupid placeholder titles and just changed them as I went along. So let's call it like Spectra,
Spectrum,
because then it won't be. Also, Spectrum reminds me of Spectra. Yeah. We can change it later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's one of the fun things about world building. Nothing's really set until you tell someone what it's called. So,
it's not real.
a player what it's called. Then up to that point, it doesn't matter. You can create something on the fly.
Yeah, but that's one of the problems with like a placeholder text, though, isn't it? It's why people have lorem ipsum, because people tend to write just like bollocks, shit, fuck, and then they leave it in there.
You've been reading my notes.
I've been reading your notes. Yeah, you publish them online. You might not realise you're doing that, but it's like a live doc.
Yeah.
Your nightly journal when you wake up screaming and then just write down bollocks, shit, fuck, and go back to bed. All right, so
that does sound like me, yeah. But so after that lengthy sojourn to come up with Spectra as a placeholder name,
I'm going to put square brackets around it as well to fully emphasise that it's not real.
We could also call it something like the incandescence or something. I don't know.
There you go. We've moved on. So placeholder name, the incandescence. So there you go. That's the incandescence. Cool. I had a go on.
I was going to do the next question unless you.
Yeah.
No. So, are natural physical laws mostly the same as in our world? Well, I think we've already started off by saying probably some of them aren't, because we've just created a world that has no sun but is just illuminated by a giant disk of light or something, or sphere of light that surrounds it?
Who knows? We don't know. It's just like the light of like when you have an
Yeah.
overcast sky,
Yeah.
and there's light from
Just
everywhere, and there's no shadows.
Sort of,
Because the light is omnidirectional, so you don't really get any shadows.
there you go.
So
Maybe it isn't really like the sunlight isn't really that super powerful. They just have a lot of refracting clouds that are constantly in the atmosphere,
yeah,
creating this omnidirectional.
or maybe like a giant demon made a crystal globe around the outside of this world and is shining a torch on it. I don't know. We don't know.
With a magnifying glass from
With a
afar.
magnifying glass. It's all just like a load of ants, and there's just this huge malicious godchild that's just shining a magnifying glass down on top.
Look,
Yeah.
we've already got parrot people and ant people. There you go. We're filling out the world quite nicely.
I'm gonna put a pin in parrot people as like.
Don't worry, I wasn't being serious.
Quite, because they'd just be like colourful kenku, wouldn't they? Right? Because they'd just be
Maybe
like,
less annoying.
I don't know. Parrots are like so entertaining for the first 20 minutes that you meet them, and then it's like, oh, imagine living with this guy, who will probably outlive you.
Might
They
be
live a
one of
long
the
time.
reasons. Yeah, yes, I know. Might be one of the reasons why people leave the cities to go adventuring.
The annoying parrots.
Just I put up with it for 20 years. Now I'm off.
That could be. Well, we can work. There's some backwards world building going on
There
there.
you go. Anyway, so mostly the same then,
Mostly the same, I
but
think.
with some influences of magic and
Well, yeah, magic and no night. I think we said as well.
yeah.
You don't have to keep that, but I thought that'd be quite fun.
No, I like that idea. Yeah.
'Cause you still have, it's still dark underground. Don't you?
Yeah. That also sort of plays into the idea that like they also try to travel underground in these
Yeah.
lakes, oceans and riverways that are beneath the surface, because at least it's dark and cool there.
Now I'm thinking maybe this was like a terraforming experiment that went really wrong, but they've over millennia. They've evolved to adapt in this way, but all that kind of knowledge is lost to mysteries of time and stuff.
Space.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Or it is a giant godchild demon.
Are there any spirit worlds, alternate dimensions, novel planes of existence, or cosmological locales generally associated with the world? What novel planes of existence is that like? Oh, there's Dune World and Catcher in the Rye World. And
Pride and Prejudice world.
I think
What do
all
you-
of that combined is Westworld, but there you go.
Yeah. Probably. I think so. Please, like, jump in. I feel like this is it. There's three things I'm thinking of, or maybe four. You've got these spire type cities, which are very nice and shiny and lovely. You've got the outworld, which is just a scorching hot, eternal desert of dust.
Yeah.
You've got the underground water network that connects the things, and maybe like a fourth place, which would be like
Yeah.
something more liminal. So maybe between these underground riverways and the surface. So something more mysterious, like some other resource that they need to get.
Yeah.
Like the underworld.
Yeah, but yeah,
And
that could
yeah.
also potentially be where there's more teeming verdant life as well, because it would be warm enough from the surface because of this massive influx of light, and yet it's also got water coming up from from these underwater riverways, that might be
Yeah.
that might create a space in between where things don't require direct light, but
it's alien and different and weird and
Yeah.
unlike what's there. So it's like it's one of the adventure spaces.
Yeah.
So and yeah, so that's how I'm sort of thinking of it. Maybe there could still be like a like an astral plane.
No one's got outside of the big snow globe they're in yet, so they haven't been able to find.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I suppose that's a question that directly links to the idea of there's magic in the world as well, because where does that then come from?
Yeah,
is there something else beyond it, or is it?
Are they, or is magic just
radioactive superpowers?
Just you are well on your way to becoming a powerful wizard.
But I suppose we'll be thinking about that more as we go.
I think we're like
we can leave that idea of are there other planes? We'll leave that open. It's also not going to be something, if we were potentially running it with players, it's not going to be something they'll jump into straight away as well.
It's not like the whole world is based around that.
Yeah.
Like say like in like Pariah, which is all about there's all these spirit worlds.
Yeah.
That's like quite a big part of the gameplay. Yeah. But
I've heard that's a rather good game.
It's very good. It's available from available from Soul Muppet Publishing actually.
Yeah.
And Exalted Funeral, links below.
Fancy.
If Lewis is kind.
If I remember to put them in when I put it up on YouTube, the links will definitely go below.
Yeah, but it's the possibility that we could develop a game in that direction if we want to, but it's not the foundation of the setting.
Yeah, it's not going to be the starting point for a group of players running through it. Most likely, I think they'll probably start off for some reason having to travel between one of these giant luminous spires and another one.
Yeah.
Or at least out beyond the safety of...
Yeah. It could be a scenario where they're picking up a choice of... Yeah, because that's the other thing, that people would make trips above to the above world, and maybe there's like a resource that's only found on the surface and you have to physically go out there as well. And that's so we've got lots of different avenues.
I think they're probably reliant on going out onto the surface for certain things, and then into that sort of sub layer that we've come up with, and then obviously shipping and traveling through these underground lakes.
Wicked. That sounds quite fun.
Okay. Almost wants to make you stop playing.
Get a party together.
Are there any grand global scale empires or groups that impinge on the campaign scope? Is there sort of a unity between certain, like a banding of certain of these hive cities together, or do you think they're all pretty much independent city-states?
I'm leaning towards that.
I feel like it's sort of like medieval Italian, where there's a bunch of little city-states and maybe they have a few outposts between them, but they're all independent from each other, and there's not really a global power that has hold of everything.
We're kind of picturing like your Genoas and your Venices and what have you, but without like the backdrop of the papacy. You know, there's no Holy
Yeah.
Roman Empire
No.
behind there. Yeah. Or no Ottoman Empire to rub up against either. 'Cause it's just like I don't know. It's kind of imagine that these cities are probably quite dense, but outside of that, it's just
Yeah,
very
it's
sparse,
probably
right?
just the odd outpost that is in between areas people have to travel through
Yeah.
or go to collect resources from.
Possibly, but possibly the whole complex ecology of and culture out there. There could be something very,
Mm.
very mysterious going on, but it's just kind of separate. And
Yeah.
and I think you said right at the beginning, it's like because it's like non-dystopian, you weren't picturing it being like the Dark Lord is coming to take
Yeah,
over.
no,
Or, yeah.
there's no outside evil empire trying to get in and like all of this shall be ours for evil.
Because that's one thing actually. Even in like if like a society is really doing well, like it's like prosperous and it's looking after people at all different levels and it's stable and providing and there's not much suffering and there's healthcare or what have you. There's still got to be people who a small number of people who are like, "Hey, I can do that for you. I'll be more than happy." Were you talking to me then? Yeah.
No one else could hear me at that point, so
You won't broadcast thing.
no.
Lewis called me honey. Everyone.
Yeah.
For the record.
Oh well. No, there you go.
But yeah, there's
You
always
should
going to
hear
be.
what he calls me.
You shouldn't. It's vulgar. It shouldn't be broadcast. But there's always going to be groups and individuals who have to take risks and put their lives in danger. Even like we have. If we have like a nice, stable, liberal democracy or whatever, we still have to have like firefighters.
Yeah.
And we still have to have people we still have like people working on oil platforms or just at sea.
Yeah, well, that was sort of my idea for these outposts. They're probably miners and things like that, or riggers and stuff. They're things that the hive cities can't live without, and people have to go out there to get these resources.
Maybe
and perhaps there is something or someone else out there as well, but it just doesn't occur to the hive cities that there might be people living out there, because for them it just seems so desolate and
perhaps they've struggled for so long to get to where they are now, and they've gone like, well, we've really been working on, we've reached this kind of, now they're, from their perspective, they've reached the pinnacle of their culture. They're like, here we are, and perhaps they are on the verge of like some great leap into the beyond, or whether that's into the whatever's lurking in the depths, or
building a big hammer to get through the snow
crystal
globe.
sphere. They're gonna smash it. But that would be the worst kind of existential horror, wouldn't it? Be like, you've reached there's nothing there.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
There's just you and your weird powers on this desert world, and this is
It turns out you are the pinnacle of everything.
Yeah. How does that feel now? There's nothing. It's just a vacuum, an infinite vacuum beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no God. There is no meaning. Oh no. Okay, let's stop. Let's stop. So like, so no overarching threat, but it's just like
no like large scale empires. I don't think it really. Yeah.
Like in the course of a campaign, like someone could emerge, like maybe there's a house or a noble or something, or a criminal who's like pushing, gets a big ideas above their station.
Yeah, I think in that case, like global spanning empires is probably less likely because of how difficult it would be logistically to send a massive army to some other hive and then try and take it over rung by rung.
Exactly
but
that.
Within a hive at what is probably more of a nation level, then yeah, there could well be these competing houses where one is in one certain hive is getting the upper hand, and we calling them hives. I'm just calling them
I think we
hives.
should get away from hives.
That should, yeah.
Because I just have in my head, I've got Necromunda and June, and
Yeah, yeah, sort of.
I don't. Yeah. We need something more.
What do they? Yeah. How do they usually term these kind of things in tenders when they're trying to build green cities?
You know, like
asking difficult questions now, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm not privy to such information. Yeah, it'd be something really just painful to your ears to hear, wouldn't it? Like, it'd have like the word sustainable used 47 times. So,
yeah.
Sociologically and ecologically sustainable development. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. But in any case, at the moment, we can just placehold it as like they're large vertical cities.
I don't think definitely we got that. We're going for that verticality, like a vertical garden city.
Yeah.
So we're getting away from it being
big overhanging
or Necromunda or something. It's not like a
big overhanging plants and things all the way up, and large park areas that are probably, somewhere 200 300 meters above ground level, and
it's like a technological magical climate control system, and obviously at night
and night curtains.
Night curtains, pretty boy then, and the parrot people go to sleep.
And everyone expresses a sigh of relief and all go outside once the parrot people have gone to sleep.
So shut up.
Poor parrot people. Well, I don't think we're going to add the parrot people.
I'm warming to them now, though. I'm quite like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really like the big, like the bright green parakeet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
So, next question. How interconnected are the parts of your world? I think we've got that down. They are interconnected, but it's an adventure in itself to travel down through the crust, through these waterways, or along the desolate barrens of the lands above, or through this middle land, which could potentially be highly hazardous as well, or just interesting.
And that's kind of like a new frontier, I think, as well. That's kind of something that's... Because maybe if they did arrive and they inherited some previous infrastructure, so that there were these in tunnels there.
Tunnels that went down to the waterway straight away, and they were like, well, that's how you get around then, without thinking about what else might be down there.
Just can't do it. And I don't think it's like a journey that many people make.
No.
Often.
Yeah. I think it's purely like maybe the necessary trade between these large vertical cities is most of it, and even that'll be, exceptional.
Yeah, because they're designed to be as
self-sufficient.
As self-sufficient as possible. And so even like high-ranking people probably have spent their entire life and will live and die in
one city. Yeah.
But each one is like its own kind of its own nation.
Yeah.
So, you can have, the entire complexity of like a really enormous city or micronation just can exist there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's sort of taking the idea of the culture and like social development of world cities that we have, and then building it up to a massive scale and then isolating it from everything else, pretty much.
So think about that parallel you just drawing there. How about? So obviously, one of the things we have in this world is like an elaborate information. Like we have the internet. So is there a way? Is there kind of a form of
magical network or? Well, how high are we going with technology here? That's probably a good question then. That arises out of it, because I like the idea of people going out on hover barges, but with swords and things, and I don't know. In my head, it's maybe a bit John Cartery with like those long, massive flintlock rifles, and but maybe rather than people going out in their dune buggies and. Like, I don't know what you mean. It's only 80 kilometers. I'll just drive there. And computers everywhere. Unless you want to throw computers in there, but
I don't know. I feel like the technology should be there to make things fun and interesting, but not. But
I think if you added modern levels of technology, it sort of stifles that isolation between the cities. I like the idea of maybe there's a magical connection. You could potentially send messages to each other through these, through these scrying centers or something.
Every elder from every major house together in the same chamber, they're able to open a communication portal to the equivalent chamber in a neighbouring city, and they can piggyback between them, and maybe it is actually based on some weird obscure nanotechnology that they no longer understand.
That they just don't understand.
Like a 40k kind of thing where they've got really very high tech stuff, but they don't. No one actually knows what it is, and it's just magical. Otherworldly.
I did sort of also start thinking we're building giant cities with desolate wasteland in between. We're going very 2008. We're basically reversing 2000 AD. The opposite of Judge Dredd. Everything's kind of nice.
It's great. Mega City 1 is just
you want to live there rather than I have to live.
I finally watched the
film.
The Judge Dredd film, not the Stone one.
Carl Urban.
It's pretty good.
It's
all right.
For an adaptation of Judge Dredd, it was.
I'd
like to see more adaptations like that than the 90s Stallone version.
That was just. Don't know what that was, but there was some just 90s adaptations were just a bit weird, weren't they? Like the Super Mario Brothers film. Very odd. I know it's a different whole kind of fish, but that
it's weird because if you think about it, they sort of reversed the idea of a Koopa because they had a giant body and a tiny head.
Yeah, it was.
Which is the opposite of what they look like. It's
the opposite. What were they thinking? Very odd. Very weird. But so many things. Did you ever watch any of there was the anime Guyver series? You ever see any of those? And it was this it was quite weird. It was this cartoon about this young man who finds this not magical, it's like a high-tech thing that combines with his body and transforms him into the Guyver, which is they're probably fans of this show going, why are you describing it in this horrible way? But he fights against these beings called Zoinoids who are all human, but they transform into monsters, and they have these bloody battles, and it's really gory. But they made a couple of live action films of it, in America, because it was so popular. The Japanese cartoon was so popular in the US, and they are like unbelievably awful. Like it's just like wow, like you got given quite a lot of money to make. Wow, it's just like no like.
Well, I got
material.
given a lot of money, but I never read the source material. So
They probably got really high, and then like just watched a few cartoons. Like, what is this? What are we? Okay, let's just hire some effects guys. Yeah, we're getting sidetracked, aren't we? Oh, I'm sidetracking us. Sorry. Are there any more big questions?
Invite guests on then. No.
The
guests? Last. Yeah. Well, you're a guest.
Oh yeah.
The first.
I'm a guest. Mm-hmm.
You're also, in many ways, sort of the trendsetter for the entire channel because you're the first person on it.
In chat.
Yeah.
Well, I hope.
Well,
so.
also just as a guest,
Oh, guest on the show, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's taken me an hour to say that.
Well, I'll let you off as the show was sort of your idea anyway. So
yeah, there is that.
But the last question for backdrop.
Okay.
Are there any vast global events that have happened recently? Do we want to take that idea of opening up this sub-layer as a recent event? It's the first time they've really started properly. Perhaps it happened in the outposts where they started mining, and then now they've eventually dug down deep enough that they've reached this new layer, and
they're like, oh wait,
people realise there's something else in between the ground and these vast lakes and rivers.
Yeah, this is pretty revolutionary. And there's a
also,
whole lot of people who are now saying like, well, maybe we should not be focusing our ambitions on cracking the glass ceiling of our. We need same.
There's a lot of metaphor in this world, isn't there?
Maybe. But it's like, but no, it's the same like people in contemporary Earth who say like we shouldn't really be looking at interstellar exploration. So we've
sorted out
what's here, but also explored everything.
Yeah.
They're going, oh look, there's another layer. It's like So
Oh,
what's there though? What's there that is, because there's got to be something that's going to be more exciting than just the curiosity of like a new frontier.
In my head it's probably like a bioluminescent layer of plants, and not just like the typical underground mushroom vibe, but maybe a whole underground layer of various types of plants, and creatures and animals that have adapted to survive.
Yeah, like they just entirely subsist on, like they entirely. Yeah, they're getting energy just from warmth. It's just that. It's just from heat, from the surface heat.
Heat from the surface, and then the damp and water that they get from underneath.
Yeah, and they're in the middle, and it's like a whole new ecosystem that it's blowing their mind. There's like, what's going on here? This is like we've just been going under it or over it, and we've not seen that there's this whole thing here, and like, holy shit.
That gives it a lot of potential for exploration for players if there's a campaign, because everything that they come across will be new to everyone, or potentially.
There's food and medicine and drugs and materials they didn't even know about. Things are just growing. Yeah, but it's also like it's quite. Go on, sorry.
Do we want to connect it in a way to some idea of a precursor civilization then? Because then you could add ruins and things like that into that layer as well.
Yeah, well, now you say that, now I want to put it back to the idea of like a failed terraforming
experiment. Yeah.
So this could be like one of those
where they find
what do they? Is it a xenomorph?
No, preferably not. No,
but
that's
what you do. Like,
no, they might potentially.
There's an egg, and a face hugger jumps out.
Find lost technology or knowledge from wherever they came from before that is now long forgotten.
Yeah.
Because, well, I suppose in this case it might be magical knowledge and things and resources, because they perhaps realized that the surface world was untenable when they arrived and started digging down and came across this layer.
And then they did some jiggery pokery. There was some kind of like, maybe there are these like, you know, various loci where you have like an engine or something that just generates, I don't know, life from it facilitates this new kind of weird environment. It draws the moisture from underneath and the heat from above, and then there's a reaction and there's some magic and some gobbledygook, and then it spreads out, and it's forming this kind of fibrous network across the whole subsurface.
Are we making the entire layer then like something that's been created but in a time people have all long forgotten?
It was set up.
Something that was already there that they've expanded upon, but then it's been forgotten as people learnt how to build these giant megalithic vertical cities and move to the...
It's totally ancient, and it has been abandoned, and it's just been there trundling on, being completely oblivious to it.
God knows how long. Yeah.
Just before the humans or whatever our civilization
even came there. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, and so that layer in between the water and the heat has recently opened up. Well, they've found it, and now people are eager to go down into it and explore, and that's our vast global event, which I imagine they would go to the effort of sort of gathering together all the magicians in whatever city found it and scryer to everyone. Like, there's something down there, let's have a look.
Up now, we'll point our telescopes down instead of up.
Stop looking at the crystalline sky above, look down.
You think
and there might form a fissure.
How's that affecting people on the day to day? Because we've got this like, it's like a new frontier vibe.
Yeah,
it's just starting out.
Yeah.
How widespread is the knowledge of it though? Is it like, are people deliberately keeping it under wraps, or are they just like...
I like the idea that maybe because it was discovered by accident, the knowledge of it spread before people at the very top of these spires could say, oh no, we'd best keep that hush for ourselves.
Too late, the cat's out of the
bag. And so... you know, maybe one of these mining groups found it, and then they told some people, well, their families, when they got back, and were talking about it down the pub, and also to the traders that they sell their mining goods to, who then spread this new idea of this sublayer to other cities, and so it sort of slowly moving through society
Mm.
and creating a buzz for, because I suppose most of it's not dystopian, and I imagine they like living in these cities, but they are sort of also trapped there if you think about it. And so this idea that there's something underneath that they could potentially explore and wander about without the fear that they have of the world above is probably leading to to a general idea of like, oh well, I don't know, I might want to go and have a look at that. I want to explore.
Maybe for some people.
Yeah.
Most people are
the
like
adventurous types.
Yeah, most people are like, look, we've got it pretty good now.
Good,
We've kind of reached the point where this is potentially dangerous. We're going to rock the boat if we start kind of, let's just enjoy things. We have like relative stability, and you're just like your mother. She was an adventurous type, and look what happened to her. She wandered into the waste and was never seen again. But maybe I will find her. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's good. Good event. So what would it be like, the tapping of the... That sounds weird. No, maybe not the tapping. Like because it's like tapping a world.
Incandescent tapping.
Yeah. What is this space? What is this?
Yeah, what are we going to call this?
Yeah,
I mean, now it feels like I'm making things in Inkscape. What shall I call this layer? Text layer.
Yeah.
Boxes layer.
Yeah.
No.
I think we need a placeholder for now. So.
Yeah. Call it, to continue on the theme, you can call it the bioluminescence.
Yeah. I've got some very big square brackets around that.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm fine with that. We want...
Oh, I'm so fed up with our normal luminescence. I wish there was an underground bioluminescence.
Wow, it's more colourful and vibrant.
Okay. Right, good. Cool. That's fun. Sounds good. All sounds really good. The document is
except for the names.
Oh, I have to say, I've written very little on the actual.
Yeah, that's fine.
The
advantage of running this on the internet is if we really need to remember something, we can just listen to it.
That's true.
And then go, oh my god, we went on forever.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Why are we talking about Judge Dredd for so long?
So, with that in mind, that's our backdrop. I suppose we should move down to a regional level. Or do you want to have a look at geography first?
I think that
got a fair bit of an idea of what's where, though, geography-wise.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like maybe geography is just going to be like a kind of like a tube map.
Yeah, it's
like
going to be like different layers of. There's going to be an above world which might be a bit rocky here and there and stuff, and then these big vertical cities, which are basically like going down the stairs in Monument.
Yeah.
And then this underground sub layer that they've just found, and then beyond that an entire waterway network that connects the entire planet underneath.
Yeah.
And I like that idea that it's very barren on the surface, but there's a water network that connects everything underneath, creating essentially enough water for people to survive. But yeah,
All sounds good.
like sort of see it as like vast caverns that are maybe massively high as well and deeper than you can see because you're underground. And then some of them might be just little streams here and there.
I just was looking. Do you know who Anonymous Badger is?
I do not.
So, me neither. Because I was just looking to share the doc I've made, and I was checking your email.
Oh
address.
no, it's me. I'm also on. Is it
are you
on the
Worlds Without Number?
document the document you made for Worlds Without Number? Yeah.
So you are Anonymous Badger.
Yeah, I'm currently an Anonymous Badger.
I was a bit
Which is
scared.
interesting.
I've just
I'm
doxed
scared of the Anonymous Badger. No, that's how. I think if you're not
that's
logged
how you
in
appear.
completely, that's how you appear. Like Badger,
Oh,
Kiwi,
that's a
Koala, God knows
knowing
what.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No worries.
Also,
Alright.
hello to anyone watching us on Twitch. Feel free to put something in chat if there's anyone out there.
Anonymous Badger. You're
Yeah,
there.
if there's an Anonymous Badger, or you have your own ideas for what we should do with this world, or names for things,
So should
which
we
is
skip
usually, I think, both of our forte, and we're really coming up short today.
we skip the geography for now then?
Yeah. So go down to a regional level then, and like, are we focusing in on maybe the first vertical city to really discover this sublayer?
That would make sense to be
the focal point of the region that we're looking at.
we should have like 6 kind of cities.
Yeah. And then one of them's found it, and the information is already dispersed to the other 5.
Yeah.
Or some of the other 5.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea that, yeah.
I'm trying to get you share this doc with you. Anyway, I'll share it with you later. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So what does it say? The region.
Yep.
The region is
A cluster of nations and civilizations. And we've sort of already defined that the cities are nations within themselves. So it seems like a good idea to focus on several cities near each other.
Yeah.
Or at this focal point of the new layer being discovered. Name the region.
Oh, okay. The region. Name the region.
I was really hoping you'd bring your A game to the naming.
Well, I think it's just the direction we've gone in. It's like
it was. I think it was probably not what either of us were imagining it would end up as to start with, which is pretty fun to be honest.
Right?
But so I didn't really have a bunch of solar punk vertical city names in my head when I got up this morning.
So it probably would make sense that they would just have assigned because it's just a network. The cities are the important points.
Yeah.
And the outside spaces are really very, they're all much of a muchness on a global scale, right?
Yeah, but it could be like a geographic area, that's the basin, for instance, and there's some big dust bowl there, where they've built a bunch of cities in, and they call that area the basin, and then there's over there, the mountains and
Right.
things like that.
So maybe it
and
is
that's
like
a regional name for
there's a huge gorge,
yeah.
and this gorge is where there's a lot of mineral extraction occurs, and it was here that a group of miners from one of the spires, one of the vertical cities, found this new strata, this new kind of bioluminescence. They accessed it through here. So the whole region is based around this, like,
I like how you managed to throw spire and strata in there as well.
Yeah. Oh shit! Wearing my influences on my sleeve. But yeah, like an enormous, like a canyon or gorge or something like that. So that's just like a scar. The scar.
There you go.
A huge scar in the landscape. Like, enormous. Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Maybe they also started building cities in and around that because they thought it might provide some shade from the omniluminescence above.
Yeah,
but it didn't.
It didn't work. It was very ill thought out. But that's a nice idea that they have them on. Some of these are built onto the side of the gorge.
Yeah,
so instead of just being erupting
sort
out
of,
the surface,
yeah.
Here they're like kind of like along. So perhaps there's like two sides of the gorge then. So we've got like 3 on one side, 3 on the other, or 2 on one side, 4 on the other, and there's a slight different vibe on the either opposite sides, you know, of these of the gorge. But the or canyon, or the scar.
The scar. There you go. There you go, you've got all your naming points back now.
The region is the scar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose about 6 major geographical features. Well, I think we have one already that is quite prominent and important.
Yeah.
And at this point there is actually a few suggestions on page 120. So I think, let me roll through.
Excuse me a minute, I'm gonna grab a drink.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So another thing I like about Worlds Without Numbers is other than posing these questions, the book also provides quite a lot of tables to roll on, which is something I always enjoy, random rolls.
Yeah.
Especially if you GM a lot, because you know it's always fun to have something that you're not entirely sure what will happen, as well as
it also gives you a little, it's like a little mini game, isn't it? And it makes it into a kind of a game.
Yeah.
You can play by yourself or with a friend. Or some internet randos.
Yeah, there you go. Which is pretty much how we met.
We're sponsored, by the way, by Sam. I don't know if you.
Okay, so that's immediately got me banned. I'm drinking a non-specific brand of cola plant-based soda water.
Oh, okay.
Choose about 6 major geographical features. Page 120 can give suggestions, but the idea is sort of mountain ranges, giant forests, huge rivers, steep plateaus, volcanic hell gates. Wow.
Volcanic hell gates.
Yeah. But do you want to roll for it? Well, I think we have one. The major one is the scar itself, the giant gorge.
Mhm.
cut across the landscape.
Mhm.
And then
I
there's
thought of
a
another one.
D20 table if you want to roll on it.
Yeah. I'm up
But-
for rolling. But I'm wondering if one of the ones we should just throw in from the outset is where this mineral extraction or these miners or whatever came across this new
Yeah.
layer, the bioluminescence, whether that entry point should be a major feature,
Yeah.
like whether that became like a,
What
I don't know what it would look like though.
What do you see it as being then, as a
Maybe it would
geographic
look
feature?
like perhaps that could be almost like a weird vertical forest on the side of a canyon where they kind of tapped into this weird unexplored layer of life, and it just kind of ruptured out and it kind of spilled out, and even though the environment is completely unsuited for carbon-based plant life, it's there and growing and hanging on just because it's being pumped full of so much of this weird energy, which the layers status is.
So that's our non-volcanic Hellgate.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a hellgate and a forest at the same time, and
Oh, yeah, I
vertical
like that.
hellgate forest.
Well, I think there are three that we don't really need to roll for because they're things we've already discussed. So we've got the gorge.
Yeah.
Then we have this kind of dense forest idea that's teeming out to the surface from where the mines opened it up. Or perhaps it's a jungle. I don't know. Is it more of a forest or a jungle? What would you...
I don't know. I think it's something. It could be neither of those, but the closest thing right now we can compare it to would be like a jungle or a forest.
Yeah.
Like.
And then
Vertical hellgate jungle forest.
Yeah. And then we also have one of the other suggestions that they have on the D20 table, blasted lands, is pretty much everything that's around.
Yeah.
Well, everything that's on the surface is this dust-covered, inhospitable landscape that gets too hot and you don't really want to be out in.
What's
I
the
also really want to do... Well, we'll roll for that. I want to do something with the dust as well.
Yeah.
I like the idea that the dust has some purpose or property that affects everything.
All right.
Okay. Do you
Let's
want to
roll
roll
for these
for what's at the bottom, or shall I do it?
I don't know. You roll because I don't have my dice.
I shall use this rather lovely D20 that I got from Kraken Games. 8. A jagged mountain. New or resharpened mountain range forms a barrier in the region. The mountains are young, tall, and lightly cast a substantial rain shadow. Well, any rain coming down there is going to be... That's something we want. You could also... if you have a look on page 123, you can
This
also
is a great set of. This is a great set of tables.
Yeah.
Because you just roll all your dice and you get
and then you get
combination.
You know exactly what a terrain feature. Well, you have a great idea for a terrain feature. So do you want to keep the jagged mountains?
Yeah.
Maybe that surrounds the edge of the gorge or cuts the scar off from other regions with other cities,
Yeah. Okay.
but we'll see. So, how dangerous is it? A 2. There's one notable kind of danger there.
Jags. you very jagged.
It's ridiculously sharp rocks. It might. Well, it may not be a rock formation. It may be a mountain made out of something completely different.
Dust.
But
It
no,
should
but
be
like maybe it's jagged pieces of ore or something, or glass, a giant sharp dark glass mountain.
Yeah, an obsidian mountain range.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really sharp.
Yeah, well, it would be
notice-
then. I wouldn't want to climb over it.
No, me neither. One notable kind of danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shards of razor sharp obsidian.
Yeah. Okay, what else have you got? So, one notable kind of danger.
Yeah.
What's next on the list? Can't see.
What use is the feature?
Okay.
Which is a D8. 8. A mighty working is still functioning there.
Oh, that's good.
So, do you think that holds something that connects to this giant underground engine, or
Could do, but then
is this something
it's
different
one that's not been
completely?
discovered yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
not
well-
not the vertical. It's another one that's out there that could be,
Yeah.
that could emerge later through play. Someone could hear a rumor like oh yeah, we've been prospecting in the Obsidian Mountains, and there's
There's
signs of
something in
very
there,
similar.
yeah. But we can leave that vague for the moment. What exactly
Yeah, I'm
the
just gonna
working
put
is?
like life engine.
Yeah.
to mark.
Oh, yeah. So like a backup engine they've built into the.
Yeah, or maybe it was never activated, or
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
failed, or it. Oh, that's my son crying.
Mine's been rather quiet. He's nicely asleep, seemingly. There you go. What kind of event happened there? That'd be interesting.
An anniversary.
A major anniversary of a resource strike drew numerous people.
And we're talking specifically about the mountain now, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah. So, I know. I suppose.
Ores,
What
obviously.
were they
very-
looking for in the giant shardy obsidian mountains, other than obsidian?
Well, they could have just been. People could have just been there looking for obsidian when they found something
Found
else.
this, yeah, and that might be what is drawing people
So
there.
that-
It
the
might, maybe it's so vast that it's drawing people out there to look or to excavate it, but they haven't even scratched the surface of what is underneath there. They just know that there's something there, and it looks mechanical, maybe.
So yeah, this resource strike is
Yeah.
salvage technology.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
or,
maybe.
magical artifacts.
Yeah.
So it's like,
And they're picking at like the exterior bones of, well, not even that, but like in a small place, they're picking at the exterior bones of it that they can get at, not quite aware of just how much of the mountain it takes up underneath.
sick.
Then the life engine becomes a possible mega dungeon of
'Cause
its
then
own.
they start. Yeah. It's like it's a whole arcology or something, like really bizarre. Just it's like, okay, yeah, I want you to go and get some more of these things. These are really cool. They're over in the massive,
you know, the razor sharp obsidian mountains that no one wants
in
to
like
go
the
to.
unbearable heat of the never-ending day of our sunless world, which is just permanently lit. So go there and then go into this dark hole and find me some stuff. Yeah.
I'm also wondering how they convince people to go out there from these wonderful cities that they live in.
Right. So I immediately thought of. I was just thinking the exact same thing. Because there's got to be more than just the desire for excitement, right?
Yeah.
Although that could be a big factor.
Yeah.
If you have everything, it's kind of boring, right?
Well,
Maybe
also, that sort of idea that you have everything, but you're enclosed. Like, everywhere you go is the city. So it may be pretty and nice, but what's out there? Sometimes you just want to know. But there's got to be other people as well, because you'd need a fairly large workforce to get these things running.
Maybe to we immediately start thinking into dystopian.
Yeah, well, you know, they
obviously, like
you have to go, or we'll threaten your family, or something.
Or like to join the like upper echelons of the society. Like they're all immortal, but to reach there, you know, you've got to do some crazy stuff. You got to really.
Maybe that it's like that Roman idea of citizenship. So you're all fine and looked after, but if you really want to become an actual citizen, you have to provide a few years of labour or something in some way to assist the city.
But then I want to ask, so what's the difference between a citizen and a non-citizen in a society that's like non-dystopian?
Yeah.
I was thinking of a similar thing, like some kind of like the Durance in Spire, but it's not. It's like a public service, a national service you have to do. Maybe it's just national service. Maybe all youths just have to do.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just
young people.
it's like, ingrained in like, and at that
and that's
point,
how they keep the population down. Like some of you will die in a muddy hole, but most of you won't.
Burning muddy hole.
Yeah, it won't be that muddy actually. It will just be a burning hole in the ground. Yeah.
Potentially, if it's been a boom year for children, a lot of you might. Wait a minute, that sounds pretty dystopian.
Yeah. Well, this is it. As soon as you get into a society that's managed, you have a situation where someone's calling, making some big decisions about like what constitutes the greater good.
But that's the advantage of a single word trope, like non-dystopian. Okay, it could just as easily be on the surface everything is non-dystopian, but the deeper you dig into it, the more there are differences and problems
lurking in the depths.
There you go.
Once you blow away the dust, you get out your big fucking sword.
I like the idea of working every single keyword and trope into every single keyword and trope. So it's non-dystopian. How does the dust fit into that? And then dust, yes. How does non-dystopian?
That would be a whole episode.
That would be itself. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in the end no one would be listening. Yeah, so we should probably, with a view to listeners and watchers, we should probably focus on the content. On the questions and things that we pretended we were going to play out. So what's the next role? The next one is how populated is the feature. Do we have to roll for that, or do we want to say almost unpopulated or something like it?
Is this the
or very few
D4?
settlers or workers? It's still that obsidian mountain.
Yeah, but I mean the table is a D4.
D4,
table, isn't it?
yeah.
So I think there's a thing on there where it sort of like caveats each result, so it goes as populated as it would be, or slightly more populated.
Yeah, like average or more population density is, it's still very vague.
Or the one of them is a rush of people have been there, or something like that.
Yeah.
We could say that there's been a recent rush. Right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, the role was very few settlers or workers here. But I think a rush of people is fine as well. That idea that they're sort of rushing out there to get hold of these archaeo-magical artifacts. The next one is a D12 table, and Pete from Garblag Games would be very happy with that. He does love a D12. What antagonists are common there?
Oh.
A 9, which is raiders and bandits driven into the area. So there you go, that your mum went off into the wastelands and was never seen again. She's come back with raiders and bandits.
Stronger.
Stronger and more dystopian than ever.
Are they... What's the origin of them? Are they all from the kind of cities?
Well, are there people that do survive out in the wastes, but the cities just don't imagine it's viable, and so don't really have a... But then obviously if they started turning up and raiding you, you'd be like, oh, they do exist.
Yeah.
Or are they people sent out from other cities that also want to get hold of this? Because maybe this mining was started off by one particular city, and now the other cities have heard through the underwater grapevine that there's...
It could be competitive. Oh dear. Hang on, I'm gonna mute my mic.
Yeah, no problem. I think that's probably what will suit it best. Because we've created these urban population centres that are pretty much the only population centres. So I imagine raiders and bandits from...
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I also like the idea of maybe there being something... Another...
Else? Yeah.
Elves? What?
Else. Not elves.
Yeah. No elves, no. Kind of like
really aggressive halflings.
Something, not them, but like someone
really aggressive halfling raiders.
There you go. Okay, we'll put that in possibility.
Something other people that do dwell on the surface but aren't really connected to the cities. It could be both. Optional quirk of the feature. Do we want to roll an optional quirk?
Yeah.
It's a D20. 13. It was a nature preserve of a megastructure.
Oh.
Well, I suppose that does fit into the idea of perhaps this obsidian mountain just houses the redundant life engine that they don't know is under there.
Yeah, and it could have templates for organisms that it was intended to roll out. at
Yeah.
various stages in the terraforming experiment.
Do
But
you think this one was then specifically made for above ground, or also to pump into the ground below?
could have been an earlier iteration, which was when they were still convinced that we could probably
We
make
can
a
fix
go of it on the
this.
surface.
Yeah,
Who knows who they were? They could be
yeah.
engineers.
Well, we've already
or-
established that it was so vastly ancient that it predates everyone else who turned up.
Yeah. So they could have, like, inside this, redundant engine, it could be like cryogenically frozen
Yeah.
creatures that they're ready to. They could have like whole apex predators or really complex organisms which were like supposed to terraform the planet, like like your burrowing worms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're not.
That
creatures.
just thinking on a gaming perspective, that makes it sort of a nice link to turning it into a mega dungeon, because you can have levels to it as well. Like the top level can be simpler organisms that were intended to be sent out first, and thus also potentially weaker ones that the players can wrap their giant swords around.
Yeah. And also, it
And
could
they-
become like a thing that you pick up from going there, like a summoning ability or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I like it.
Maybe. Cool.
Right, so we've got 4 terrain features so far.
And one of them has turned into a mega dungeon.
Well,
Away
you
from
know.
what we were focusing the adventure on. So
Yeah.
cool.
Shall I roll a d20 for another one?
Yeah, go on.
2 more to go. A 10. Light forest interspersed with other terrain. Where would the light forest be then? Or is it a light forest?
As in, it's a forest of light.
Yeah.
I'm not against it.
No, just trying to
Tell
work
me
out
what.
how to... Yeah. How do you do that?
Tell me what you mean. Yeah. Well, again, that would be like a crystal forest, right?
Yeah. That's possible, yeah. Or it could be another
A
forest.
salt forest, like salt
Yeah.
crystal.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Alright.
Yeah.
Should we go through the one roll terrain feature details again?
Yeah, and then we'll keep it like vague and then see what
Yeah.
comes up from that. Yeah.
So it's safer than usual for some place like it. So it might just be, perhaps it's a big salt flat in the gorge itself with these salt crystal forests in it.
Bottom of the gorge.
Hmm?
It's at the bottom of the gorge then.
Or near, yeah. Well, my idea was maybe then that's where different groups of workers from the different cities come together, because that's the main salt source for all of the cities.
Yeah.
Then if you have it sort of in between them.
Yeah. Well, that would work if you have like some cities on one side, some on the other.
On the other, then they're going to be,
Bottom.
it'd be in the centre of the gorge that they meet each other.
And I'm
if
sure
they
someone
ever
could
meet.
make an argument for if this gorge used to be a watercourse, then
Yeah.
it would have salt at the bottom. For some
We
reason, to do with geology.
surrounded the planet with a giant crystal ball, and
Yeah, I
it
know
has
you're right, yeah.
omnidirectional light. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
anyone who's trying to make these geographic features
Logical.
structurally sound is probably being
But
pedantic.
okay, cool. So, but agreed. It's like this will be like a confluence of different cultures coming here
Yeah.
Because you say it's the main source
Yeah.
of salt.
Yeah. And then perhaps almost something akin to like a mining village or something, or several, where the different groups, and obviously they meet each other because they're all quite close by whilst out mining salt crystal trees. Oh. Okay. What use is the feature? Well, I think a rare and precious resource is found there. It's not really a rare resource, but it's
precious.
An important resource. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the easiest place to
Easiest way, yeah.
But it does have to be managed, right? Because you can't just have people going down there and just like taking, or maybe you can. Maybe it's that abundant. Let's see what other roles come up. Yeah.
Where's my
druids.
salt druids?
Yeah.
An uncanny plague erupted in the area because of the lack of salt druids.
Obviously, uncanny plague.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that. Do we want to go into plagues though?
Let's come back. Let's circle back on that one.
I can re-roll it. Otherwise, I have an idea for it, but.
Oh yeah. Okay. What was your idea? I'm okay.
Well, it's also one of the only places where the different cities meet. People from the different cities meet, so they're more likely to spread illnesses that they don't have in the other cities to one another, which
that's logical.
Yeah. And D4, how populated is the feature? Average or more population density. Well, I think that fits the idea that all of these spires, stratas, vertical cities send people there to collect the salt.
Yeah.
D12.
Sorry, Lewis. I'm just going to try and put.
Yeah, no problem. I will keep people busy in the meantime. Good luck. So that is sort of a very nice feature of Worlds Without Number, that you can go into that. You create a broad idea and then go into very detail, but also useful detail, because it, even like this salt forest that we've come up with, is a useful adventure site because it creates one of the few areas where various groups of people from the entire region of the Scar would meet. Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay,
no success.
We're just going to continue like this.
Yeah. No, okay. There you go. And next one's a D12 again. What antagonists are common there? 10. Rapacious local lords and gang bosses. Well, that's not very non-dystopian.
It could be kind of fairly low key though.
Yeah.
It could just be like a rapacious local lord. You know, obviously that's quite an extreme manifestation. Yeah. It could just manifest as like, you know, like there's people who believe they have land rights here, and you've got to kind of, to meet there, you have to pay a tithe or a toll.
Yeah.
And then they're quite exacting, but in return they give like protection or what have you. Was it rapacious local lords or gangs?
And gang bosses. Yeah.
And gang bosses.
So there's gangs.
So there's like a group that control the area that's separate to the cities.
Yeah.
And you know, and sometimes they can be, for the most part, it's manageable. because they need the people coming there as much as the people need them.
Yeah.
Because all they've got is salt. They don't have any water or anything else. But occasionally they get, you know,
A bit uppity.
yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's yeah. Sort of controlling interests in these new semi-settlements that have been founded to mine the salt. People that feel like they run the show and everyone should pay homage to them. Yeah.
Did I miss one after the population while I was gone?
No, I was just nattering on about how much I like this bit, how you could, well, that idea for Outworlds without number, how you get something broad and then you can dig down into it with useful questions.
Yeah.
About how, which a lot of them come down to how is it useful for your game basically as well. And the last one's optional quirk of the feature. It was formerly an outsider stronghold.
Outsider. And I think that's a term specific to Worlds Without Number.
Yeah.
So we can reskin it if we want. Because I think it uses outsiders
maybe,
to they're like
maybe
extraterrestrial things that are in
well, it could also be that group that we've sort of semi-established that are perhaps a bit Tuscan raidery.
Yeah.
Maybe they used to control the salt flats because it was valuable to them as well. They required but as more settlers from the the vertical cities moved in, they either moved out or felt like they had to leave. Yeah. Okay.
one or the other. I quite like, you know, maybe it was.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But then if it was something extra terrestrial, well, dust-terrestrial in this case.
That was just it was just like in the book. It was they just had there's a couple of things which are specific to it which pop up, and you can just ignore them if they don't fit with your own idea.
Yeah.
Oh dear. No.
I know the feeling, don't worry.
Toast?
Toast? Some toast, Danny.
No.
It's all a bit difficult today, isn't it?
This bank holidays are weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's 5. Do you want to do one more and then
Do one more, and then I think I'll have to.
Yeah, and then we'll leave it at sort of that. Then we've got an idea of the region as well.
Yeah.
And then
it's really kind of crystallizing.
Yeah. The whole well, it's all very. There are a lot of crystals in the area, seemingly, of one form or another, or pieces of sharp glass.
As long as we don't make them the focus of the campaign, then, because that's always.
You have to gather 50 obsidian and 70 salt pillars.
Start the fans, please. No. You could be in like a labyrinth looking for crystals. No.
There you go. The significant terrain feature is a megaplex, the ruins of a single huge ancient structure that stretch for endless miles.
Cool.
I think we've sort of already worked that into the living engine beneath. Do we want to add another mega structure into that?
I was just thinking when you said, because we've kind of got the Jagged Mountain has that, but we've also got like our
underneath.
Vertical Hellgate Forest entry into the liminal world.
That's an idea. Shall we roll this one? I maybe roll it again. Shall we roll it for one of the other layers? So not necessarily for the scar itself, but for one of the layers underneath.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Because other than there's a vast waterway and there's something underneath there, we haven't really defined a lot of that, have we?
Yeah.
12. A pit. A deep or some other underground megastructure collapsed and left a hole with a diameter measured in tens of miles.
Wow.
Maybe that's in the waterway itself. There's a large draining pit underneath it. Where does the water go? How comes there's still water?
Yeah, where's it all coming from?
Where's it draining away to?
Yeah. That would be that. I mean, if it is tens of miles across, that would be a lake, though.
Yeah.
A huge drainage pit filled with water.
Yeah, but I think in my mind, the underground walkways aren't just like small narrow caves and things.
No.
There's big vast lakes and oceans under there as well.
Yeah, and giant rivers and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Where there are huge whales.
yeah. Do we want to chuck a big pit in there as well? Or
Well, let's see what comes out of it. So I'm going to put pit and put
Pit.
water layer, and then see what we get from that.
yeah,
Yeah. So from the other on the table.
yeah.
Yeah.
It will quickly kill the unprepared or unwary. That seems fair. If you fall into the depths of this giant endless pit.
Oh. Hang on. Can you? Sorry. Can you roll on the table, and then I will. Let me know what you find. I'll come back in a sec. It's okay.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, it will quickly kill the unprepared or unwary. That seems fair for a giant sinkhole underground. Maybe already roll on what use is the feature as well, and then when Sofinho comes back in a second, we can discuss both of those. If I can find my D8. A5. It has a substantial productive infrastructure. Don't know how we're gonna pull those two together. I suppose in these underground caverns there's probably also a lot of underground shipping ports and things like that, where people can stop on the way between the vertical city spires, and maybe this area has a lot of those, or a rather big one, to help people navigate around the edges of the giant pit in question, which is quite dangerous. There you go, that's a possibility. I hope everyone's been enjoying this so far. I think we're just going to finish up this one terrain feature, and once we've finished that, we'll call it a night for today and discuss a follow-up episode, maybe with more detail, depending on Sofinho's availability in the short term. But we'll have other things coming up too. I really quite like this idea of world building with a guest, so I'm probably gonna turn it into a bit of a series for So Much Game. I think another friend of the channel, Nye, also said that he wouldn't mind coming on board for a few episodes of world building. So I think the idea will be I'll invite a guest, then we'll either build on one of their worlds or build something from scratch completely, like we did here with Worlds Without Number. Maybe not necessarily always using Worlds Without Number, though I have to say it is a rather useful world building tool. And actually, come to mention it, I haven't really spoken about that much. It actually also has a free version which you can download from Drive-Thru-RPG, I believe, which has this core of world building ideas and tables and questions and stuff in it, so it's well worth downloading even if you don't get the full price version, which is even better, and definitely worth purchasing as well. So there you go. And now we shall eagerly await Sofinho's return. Coming up as well on the channel is a Dutch language game of Wrath and Glory called By Bolter and Blade, which will be hopefully starting on the 8th, so next week Tuesday, and then we'll be running that monthly in the future. I think my plan is at the moment to maybe have 2 to 3 games a month, so something like this, Worlds Without Number, hopefully continuing with Sofinho, and then our Wrath and Glory game, which will be starting with a shortened version of character creation because that was intended for a week or so ago when I was unfortunately ill, and then we'll be jumping straight into the first session once character creation's complete, rather than the original idea was run through character creation, talk a bit about the environment and world they're stepping into and what they'll be doing in it, but in this case we'll just jump in head on, which is the 40k way anyway. And then at some point in the future I would also like to run a Mouse Ritter game on the channel. For those of you who don't know that, that's a game, essentially it's an old school revival style game, so it is fairly deadly for the mice involved, but the players play mice who are off in the big world battling and doing all sorts of things, but from the perspective of mice. And Sofinho's back, so I can stop babbling and hear what Sofinho thinks about the 2 results that I rolled up when he eventually turns his sound back on. 2 seconds, 1 second, or perhaps 2 minutes, who knows, or just general peace sign. Yeah, I think I'm very familiar with the restless child, so don't worry, Sofinho. Bank holidays are, well, holidays in general are a pain for their sleeping patterns. Although fortunately we've just had a new little one and he is proving to be significantly better at sleeping than our eldest. And here is the man himself.
Hi.
Hello. Yes. Welcome back.
Apologies. Thank you.
That's no problem, don't worry.
Yeah, I will have to... Did I just put 5?
You did. I don't know why. That was a long time ago, so I just...
5 is my result.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Did you
what I
roll?
got was so it will quickly kill the unprepared or unwary, which I think you heard that bit,
Yep.
which seems
Yep.
obvious. And then it has a substantial productive infrastructure. Now, what I was spitballing out to whoever was listening on Twitch at the time is, I suppose these underground waterways probably have areas where they've built up ports and things in between the vertical cities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because travel there, you're not going to get there in a day, for instance, so they have to have supply areas and things like that. Maybe the one around this pit is a lot larger and more built up because of the dangerous nature of traveling around, across, or through the pit itself. So I think that was my idea. There's a large underground port
That's cool.
town, basically under.
Yeah, it's another kind of little city or
Yeah.
something, but like,
Yeah.
cool.
Then a D10. What kind of event last happened there? No, I hadn't rolled that yet because I was telling everyone all of the various things I would like to do on the channel one day. And drop my dice. That counts as a miss usually. 7. An uncanny plague erupted in the area.
Another
I'm going to
one.
re-roll that because we've had a
Yeah,
plague.
yeah.
How many plagues can you realistically have in these areas? Ugh. A mad prophet tried to start a faith there.
Love it.
Yeah. Who is this mad prophet? Why did they try to start a faith? What is the faith? Is the faith about the pit
Imagine
and
it's
what's
water-based.
beneath it, or about how the water connects them all?
Yeah, let's join together like the underground waterways coursing and uniting us all.
There you go.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. A D4. How populated is the area? A rush of people have gone there. Perhaps they're rushing to see the prophet. Doesn't have to be a big rush of people, but
A rush.
a
A
rush.
rush of 3 people.
It may also be a rush of people who otherwise don't go down there, because I imagine it's mostly the traders and their crews and things that the
So there's
shipping
already a
crews.
steady turnover of people here for sure,
Yeah.
given the business of it. Yeah.
But they're people who go there for a particular reason, whereas having people come down there for any other reason is quite uncommon. D12. What antagonists are common there? Where's my D12? A 6. Elemental emanations of the disordered land.
What?
There you go.
That's
That
from
was-
where I filled.
Wasn't what we were expecting.
So a sixth elemental distortion.
Well, yeah, elemental emanations of the disordered land.
Wow.
Maybe the whales count as an elemental connection to this water world, and they don't like all these people coming down here and
New
traveling around.
influx.
Yeah.
Pushing back the forces of the pit.
Mm.
Depths. What's lurking in the depths of the pit? is pushing back.
Yeah, there you go.
Wicked.
Optional quirk of the feature. 18. Rulership of the feature is widely disputed. That seems fair. Like, I imagine the port cities are just a jumble of everyone who goes to and fro, and then there's some stable elements, people who run taverns, boarding houses, and warehouses and ship repairs and things. But do they really have a governance?
Yeah. So kind of similar to the way the base of the gorge operates.
Yeah.
Because it's the stakes are that much higher, there's more power play involved.
Yeah.
Instead of there just being these kind of gangs which everyone goes, oh yeah, you just got to go along with it. It's more like, yeah, there's a lot more jockeying for position and more influential people involved in it. Yeah. And now we've got the added element of this new faith starting up as well.
Yeah.
And the 6 elemental emanations of the disordered land who are causing ripples.
There you go.
Cool.
Well, I think then we have our 6 major geographical features for the region. I think then 6 nations and groups we have an idea for and stuff, but everything beyond that, those questions will run through at a later date, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good place to get started.
Yeah.
And
I think we've definitely created something that, to be honest, from starting from scratch with a few words we weren't sure what to do with, it definitely took form.
Yeah, good. The
Okay.
power of random tables there.
Random tables and very open-ended questions.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
We still need to, I think we need more swords. The swords are...
Well, the swords are severely lacking, but once we get into the idea of the nations and the areas and regions, I think swords will come into prominence. The swords will be big, and
here's a world building thought to leave on, or maybe not, or maybe so. It's like the idea of how classes in a game establish a lot of the world building details, don't they? It's like, who can you be to explore this world? What do you do? What do you look like? How do you develop? What and that kind of fills in the gaps, and it's like, that's the bottom up world building thing, isn't it? Whereas this is like the kind of top down, somewhere we're going to meet in the middle. So exciting. All right, thanks, Lewis, for having me.
Thank you for coming on, and to be honest, coming up with the concept in the first place, and for providing the map for next time. That's going to go up there where that big black space is next to me.
Yeah, well, we could have had the dice roll.
Yeah. Just a camera on my hand as I sort through dice and try and find the right one. Yeah.
It would be event TV. And thank you, Kevin Crawford.
Yep, for coming up with a rather wonderful world building methodology, I suppose it is.
Thanks, KC.
Yeah.
And the Sunshine Band, maybe. Yeah.
And if anyone here fancies popping over to Garblag Games after this, feel free to tell them we sent you.
Oh yeah,
and
what are they doing tonight?
I believe it's Expanse night, isn't it, on Mondays at the moment?
Yeah, of course. So I can put a link in the chat. Twitch.
You can, probably. There you go. They may well have already finished though, because we started at roughly the same time as them. So
it's 10:30, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
But anyway, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, and hopefully you'll join us next time. So in the meantime, stay safe and stay gaming. Good night.
Yep. Night.